Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. Merry Christmas to you, if you are someone who celebrates Christmas, and greetings nonetheless, even if you don't. So I don't expect to see too many people here on this Christmas day. Expect if you're a family person, you're probably dealing with all sorts of stuff. Here in Phuket, it's the end of the day. In the Davis family here, it's been quite a wild one and a very nice one. Very, very hot, very sunny. So not your usual Christmas weather. And see, someone came in just now. Oops, who do we get? A brass neck. Hello. Like your logo. Good, thank you. Yourself. And we'll see if we get a few others. Obviously, you know, today being, well, one of those days, you know, well, you want to call it the Midwinter Festival or Christmas or whatever it is. It's a time of, you know, families getting together. And so just wanted to get together with my family of truther friends and see how you're all doing. Rodrigo, hello. I want to be the first to tell you Merry Christmas. Okay, brother, love you so much. And I love your example with the green ball, telling us that gravity is fake and upside down is in every direction. Okay. Oh, was that one with the green ball in the thing of water, the tub of water? Yeah. Brian Leek, hello. One man, hello there. Merry Crimbo to you too, my man. Nice one. Oh, hope it's all going well with you guys. Yeah, it's been pretty hectic here in Phuket. Things warming up as far as tourism, all that kind of thing. Things are kind of getting busy again. So I'm busy with my customers after struggling through. Rodrigo asks, oh, hello, Gary. Am I a believer of Jesus Christ, Brother Nick? Well, thank you for calling me brother. It's interesting. I was going to talk about belief. To answer your question briefly, you know, you could see Jesus. It depends what you mean by Jesus Christ. I was actually listening to Jordan Peterson talking about this the other day, and I kind of tend to agree with what he says. Whereas, you know, Jesus, like maybe someone like Muhammad or someone like that, was a person like many of the people we meet in life who is a truth seeker. And this is what we all are. We all are, most of us are truth seekers. So this does pertain to what I wanted to discuss today. So, but not necessarily to stick to that thing about Jesus, but, you know, so he could well have been someone like the prince who became the Buddha, like Muhammad, like all of these people that were seeking truth, and the process of seeking truth made them come to realizations, you know. And of course, this is what I suppose we're talking about here is that path of truth seeking. And the only reason that a lot of us came across Flat Earth or even got into it and started studying it was because we'd already come a long way along a journey with an open mind, where we are questioning our own beliefs. We're questioning all those things we were conditioned, you know. And this is part of it. I think a lot of the time you are dealing with people that are unconscious in that respect, whereas you're conscious or aware of how there is something other, you know. This is that spiritual reflection, that spiritual journey where there is something other, something more esoteric than the usual kind of reactive, unconscious states we find ourselves in, where we are just kind of going along and we're getting into, it might be fights, it might be arguments, it might be thrills, it might be basically we are being our lives are being governed by this kind of these reactions that go on in our mind. Thoughts, basically, thoughts and beliefs are at the root of everything we then usually, the way we act or the way we speak or the way we interact with people. Of course, so I did want to talk about that case of becoming a zealot in some cases, and there's no denying that in certain ways, the so-called flat earth community has a lot of zealotry in it. And I think, in many ways there, you could call that control opposition, or just people sinking into that religious zealot kind of state of mind where they basically get on people's tits because they want to then convert everyone. They want everyone to become a flat earther. And there's also this you do see this prejudice developing against globe earthers. And I remember kind of early on, you might have people saying, oh, those that teach the globe in school are child abusers and things like that. And that can be kind of an extreme thing to say. And the thing is, we also know at the same time that phrase, forgive them, they know not what they do, is very relevant, because most of the time people just aren't aware. They don't have that level of consciousness. If you're a truth seeker, you have this level of consciousness or awareness that is opening you to more truths, and those truths being that we are often misguided by beliefs, and we are often reacting in ways that can be to our detriment, or situations could turn out completely differently if we were more conscious of how we were behaving, if we were more of an observer. So to continue answering that question as someone, to do so, Jesus was maybe a person, and then the word Christ is maybe added to talk about that kind of state of enlightenment as Christ. So it's more like a label. You could call someone else, you could call John Christ, for example. Maybe it would be some kind of reference to like a label for sainthood, possibly. That's a possibility. I don't know. I'm kind of repeating something that I heard the other day, as I said, and it made sense to me. So whether that person was alive or not, or Jesus represents the person who is on a truth-seeking journey, these people exist, and most of you watching are probably among those who you're truth-seeking, and this is, of course, the major difference, isn't it? You're truth-seeking, by seeking the truth, you start to look at yourself, and you start to look at your own behaviors, your own mindset, and you start to think about how you became conditioned to believe certain things or behave in certain ways. And of course, you make an effort, anyone trying to make some kind of progress in life, even if you don't consider it spiritual, but you want to progress to a point where you go beyond the kind of tit for tat, maybe arguments that you might have had. But of course, we see all around us, we see people that do progress. And then you look at someone, I don't know, look at some famous singer, like, let's say, for example, Madonna, who clearly hasn't really changed, and hasn't really, could you say that someone like that has become any wiser? I think not, because, and that's another interesting thing I want to talk about, wisdom and knowledge, and how to really define those words. Let's see if we get around to that. But a lot of people, and I'm sure most of you watching or joining the conversation here have been through some really heavy shit. You've had some traumatic experiences in your life, and you've tried to learn from them, and adapt, and so again you're observing yourself, and you're seeing what it's like to be a human. Excuse me. Um, so I'm losing my point there. let's just have a look. Oh, well, the chat's going. Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Rodrigo. Jacqua, hello. Sandman, sorry I can't stay. I just oh, well, hello. Thank you. Good to see you. Earth Measured, hello. Being the earth is flat has been created. Jesus is the creator, don't you think? Well, I definitely think we're looking at something created. We are inside of creation. We're not outside of it. So there's a limit to what we can understand and really know about the creation. Who created it? Again, that's totally debatable, and we are susceptible to falling into certain kind of beliefs or giving creation or the creator or creators some labels there. But I definitely would agree with the sentiment that there's a purpose, much like some kind of video game where you have to try and get to a certain level. I certainly think that seems to intrinsically play on people's minds. And of course, a lot of what we're taught is that you kind of, the scales are balanced when you die. I think really, though, the point is to probably do as much as you can in this life to try and progress, and that can happen in so many different ways. So I was just talking about people that do not kind of progress or don't seem to get any wiser, or still seem to cling on to this very materialistic, non-spiritual path. So as I said, a lot of people might get wealthy, and then there's going to be a point when you've got so much money that it's I'm sure it can become boring to an extent, because there is a limit to what you can buy, and then you're still going to be faced with this. Well, what else is there? So a lot of people that develop spiritually do get incredibly wealthy. They have a different kind of mindset. They look at the world differently, and they obviously the kind of people that can adapt, make mistakes, and adapt to improve. So there is this kind of evolution, and it can definitely become a spiritual evolution. I'll just while I remember before, just to kind of go back to that point about the religious zealotry that you can often see, because you do have this hate directed towards other people, and I think that's another sign. It's a sign that we see in the globe earth defenders that are always attacking the flat earthers. I mean, this is the thing you can see just from their reactions and the way they are, that they are defending a belief, and this is very much part of the awakening to that. We see that happening in others, but sometimes we can fail to see that happening in ourselves. There's no need to suddenly turn around and hate all globe earth believers. And I remember at first, starting off trying to be very understanding, but being, try to be kind of with this understanding that the area I was going into was something controversial, and that people it needs to be explained to people that come along, even if they come along saying, "Oh, you're an idiot." But of course, it's very easy to just react to those people, and kind of, and you end up with this hate relationship going on, rather than one that's built on compassion. Flanky64 says, "How can tilted moon be explained on a flat Earth?" Well, why do you demand explanations for things that haven't been proven anyway? And why are you pointing at the moon? These are ridiculous questions that are just meant to just send you off in a different direction. Why aren't you talking about curvature? Why aren't you just observing the lack of curvature? Yeah, why are you talking about the moon? It's because the moon and the celestial objects are things we point at to talk about the shape and size of the earth, which is ridiculous, really. One man and his detector, Jesus equals the mushrooms. Little. Okay, you're talking about the mushrooms. This is it. We don't, I don't really like putting labels on things like that, because there's so much that we don't understand. Yeah, about what's going on. Rodrigo, I promise you that Jesus Christ is the Son of God and salvation is through him. Sadly, people will only find this out when they die. Well, you're, again, are you handing over your power to someone else? You don't know really what the purpose of this is for. If there is salvation in and that can be given many labels. And again, you're saying something, Rodriguez, that kind of, well, what do you mean? What do you actually mean you have to do in order to get this salvation? Thank you, 64. Here in Thailand, it's tilted a lot. Well, the moon changes. If you're talking about the Terminator line in somewhere like the UK, it will be like that for the moon, and here it will be horizontal. I'm getting attacked by mozzies now. But if you took that literally as a way to interpret the shape of the Earth, then you'd come up with the conclusion that the Earth is some kind of concave thing. Yeah, because it's very difficult to explain for sure what the moon is actually doing and what it actually is. It's it's certainly it looks solid, but then it doesn't at the same time. We see no blackness in that shadow. We just see transparency. So it's as if in that case the moon is a projection, but there's far too much focus on the moon when it comes to discussing the shape and form of the Earth. I mean, really, all you have to know is that the moon, the sun, the moon, and the stars, they are different parts of a cosmic clock, right? The moon tells us where we are in the month. Yeah, it just takes us through the month. The sun does its daily thing and its seasonal thing as well, and the stars, they kind of do a seasonal or annual thing as well. So you've got your months, your seasons, and your years, all dictated by the sun, moon, and stars. And really, that's the thing, isn't it? The predictability of that, predictability of being able to say when and where we'll see the moon or the sun, is because making a prediction is part of the scientific method. You make an observation and then you hypothesize. So this is, let's say we have this heliocentric model, and so we're going to make this model and we're going to predict. We've made an observation that the moon does this, that, and the other, and we're going to theorize that the moon is a spinning ball, and that's what creates day and night, for example. And so we're going to say, well, okay, I theorize that the Earth is spinning at this rate to create night and day, and so I'm going to predict that the sun is going to rise and set in certain locations at certain times, and voila, you'll of course be able to confirm and verify your observation, your theory, and because you can do that, you would then have appeared to have validated your theory by making a prediction, based on your model. So this is how it's passed off as science. You make a prediction, it came true, so my model must be right, then my theory must be right, and that's the thing. It's that's why it's being passed off as science. But let's just have a look at the chat. Flat George, Sweden. Hi Nick, and happy holidays, and that goes for everyone else in here. Oh, thank you very much, and to you too. I expect you're in somewhere a bit colder than this, right? Yeah. Okay. Planky 64. Well, but how this would work out on a flat Earth, I don't understand. Well, you're asking. Well, there's a lot we don't understand. This is the thing. Of course, a lot of the time you're dealing with people that demand explanations. They've already have a bunch of explanations, and they want alternative explanations, and people seem to think that they can trip you up if you don't give an explanation. It's like, well, no, I mean, that's the thing. You're not going to give an explanation. And there are many possible theories and, yes, possible explanations that you can give. But what's the point if you can't prove it? Yeah. And that's what we have. That's what we have with everything. We have all these explanations about what the moon's doing. And really, one of the process I remember going through in when first investigating this is, of course, we are led to believe that all the movements we see happening in the sky are because the Earth is moving. But as I said just now, if you separate the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the planets as well, and not assume that the Earth is another planet, it's funny, isn't it? Because we are the only place with air, with clouds, with water, with we're not like those other rocks spinning around out there, whether they're self-illuminated or whatever. And I was thinking the other day, I was saw someone was showing a view through a telescope, and they were looking at Jupiter, I think. And what struck me was you have these moons going around Jupiter with a fairly just a kind of regular telescope. You don't need anything fancy. I remember my brother had one, and we were able to see Jupiter and its moons, and it was really just a toy shop kind of telescope. But one thing about those moons is that they do appear to be orbiting at quite a big distance. And so this is the thing. Although, if you think about it, although Jupiter is supposed to be massive, it's supposed to be really far away, if you think about the actual gap that you can see between Jupiter and one of its moons as it's orbiting. Now, I don't deny that these things orbit other things, and that's what's going on the sky, but maybe not. We always only see one side of Jupiter. That may not be happening, but my point was that we can see this massive gap. So to me, again, this is one of those indicators that actually what we're seeing is something very, very close. We can see a lot of detail, and to a certain extent, and that's the thing. If it was really far away, if Jupiter was millions of miles away, then that gap between Jupiter and its moons that are actually orbiting it, so whatever's going on, there is enough energy or whatever pulling force between Jupiter and the moons over a massive distance. So it's just one of those indicators, just one of those things that you might not really think about too much, but it just triggers something in your mind that says that's close. It's not as far as because obviously if it was really far away, then the gap between the moon, the orbiting moon, and the planet would close the further away it got. So it's just one of those things to think about. Jacob, I look at Orion's belt every night, and it just blows my mind how obvious it all was to me that this place is a construct. The red and blue stars separated perfectly, never changes. It's amazing, isn't it, to see that. Again, to me it's all a bit different orientation here, but you recognize those things, and it's amazing to see them. And it's whatever the stars are, and I wanted to say, actually, this is it. This is one thing. I would be perfectly happy to go back to believing that I live on a globe. All right. If only it was actually presented to me in a properly scientific, measurable way. But this is the thing. Whenever you start demanding the simplest measure of curvature, it just never comes. It never has been made. And so, of course, even if they somehow manage to arrive at this conclusion that the Earth is indeed a spinning ball and we are stuck on it by some kind of force, that's fine. I don't mind. I'm actually, that would be, well, be happy, because, this place is such an esoteric place. We do not know the mechanics of it. We do not know how it really works. Yeah. And, it could be anything. We could be inside, outside, whatever. There's a gazillion possibilities as to where we are. But that's the thing. You're always faced with people that are that refuse to even acknowledge that they have a belief rather than knowledge. Well, we've known for 2,000 years. No, you haven't. You're just repeating consensus, manufactured consensus, and rhetoric that's been passed on, the same old things. So, of course, these are all indicators that we've been sold down the river on a rickety boat of holy belief, a belief full of holes. Yeah, but it would still, that wouldn't, even if it became 100% clear that we do live on a globe, absolutely no problem. And there are still many questions. In fact, if we know that, if we really did know that, if we were really aware that we lived on a globe, we'd probably end up, life. It's bizarre how what a crazy world we live in, really. But it comes down to this, doesn't it? Caveat emptor, buyer beware. If you buy into something, whether it's a product or a belief or a way of thinking, religion, whatever, then you have to be aware that you might be being fooled. You might not be getting all that you thought you were going to get. Yeah, that's just life. That's just the way it is. And it really is no different to the situation in the jungle, where if you were living in the jungle as a human or as an animal, you are constantly on the lookout for predators. And that's the thing. They exist all over the place, and they probably exist in public more than we would imagine. Well, someone like Jimmy Savile was the perfect example, but there are many more Jimmy Saviles, because these kinds of people have the ability to see themselves as different, and take advantage and get themselves into positions where they can take advantage of others that are, not being aware. Yeah. So that's the thing, and it is a very difficult thing to understand, I suppose. It's difficult to accept sometimes that there are evil people out there that will do evil things, and they'll do things for their own gain, and politicians, for example, that they are, they're really just, cannon fodder in a way for the higher ups, aren't they? Because they, the politicians are easily led, because they're the kind of people that are ambitious and gung-ho, and of course, someone with all the money and power to control these people will do so, knowing, all these people, they've got them over a barrel somehow. So they're easy. These politicians that are led by their ego are easy to manipulate. And this is the thing that kind of the main topic I wanted to kind of approach here, is that when you, as I said, there is religious fanaticism within the so-called Flat Earth or Truther movement. You get people that are no different to your religious zealots trying to bash people over the head with it, and that's the thing. Even something, a lot of the evils that have come about in this world have maybe have their foundation or their roots in good ideas. I think it was Eckhart Tolle was talking about this, and it's again a very interesting point that, for example, communism is a really good idea. It's a really nice idea. There's fairness. You're not sold on the money, aspect of things, but because there's no need, because everyone gets what they should, what they need. The community, it looks after each other. It has possibly, communism, for example, has its roots in benevolence. But of course, what happens is the people that controlling it and overseeing it have not progressed spiritually to that point where they can really bring in that kind of utopia, because they are being ruled by their egos. So they're going to take advantage. They're going to be greedy. It really depends on what state of mind or state of spiritual development the people in charge are. And unfortunately, what we do have, the people in charge are mostly being ruled by ego, and they're not there yet. They're not in that space. So they then turn around to force these things, these rules and acts and laws of benevolence onto people in a very, often violent, oppressive way that, of course, completely contradicts what the whole aim of the thing was. So you see that. So that's what happens, isn't it? You come across a new thing, you find out these so-called truths, or you realize that we've been lied to and blah blah blah, and you can become a bit of a religious zealot and become negative towards other people. You start promoting hate, when really the whole point, the whole reason we've got to where we are is because we're looking for something more spiritual, to get to a point where you really do have that, you're free, you really are free from those egoic persuasions that are going to send you down into arguments or negative discourse with people. Oh, sorry, don't know what happened there. Hopefully you're still back. Right. Good question, I am. If Jesus Christ is truly salvation and offering everlasting eternity, then why are all religions terrified and mourn death? It's a very good point. Glenn Souch, hello. All motion requires a prime mover, which requires a reason to move and a resistance to be moved in the natural world. That's God. Well, yeah, okay, Glenn, you can talk about it like that. Again, that could just be the mechanics of it. Yeah, you see everything around us, and it is, of course, definitely intelligently designed. Saw an interesting little picture the other day. There were 2 tanks of water. One was, they had the same water from the same source, some river or sea, fish tanks with water in. One was very, very murky, and the other one was very clean. And the one that was very clean had oysters in it. And so basically, it's the oysters there. Their job is to clean the water, filter the water. And I wonder if that's how oysters end up with pearls. If they are filtering water, then certain things are going to build up in them. And maybe what a pearl is just this kind of buildup of waste product in an oyster. Yeah. So anyway, should we be eating them? But either way, they have a job to do, right? That's one of the things. I mean, maybe that's our thing. We all have jobs to do, but the point is to actually get in touch and find out what that job is, or at least allow yourself to follow that true path. And I think possibly what happens along the way is we always get distracted. Again, you can argue whether things happen because they're meant to be, but we're all on some kind of journey, and there are probably some choices you can make that will take you in a different direction throughout your life. Maybe that happens at certain significant intervals. Maybe it happens on a daily basis, because obviously, your reaction to something or non-reaction to something can change the course of your life, or even cause death within a split second. So having that presence of mind is obviously a very important thing if you want to lead a more productive life, I suppose. Yeah. So let's just have a look back at the chat there. Okay, Rodrigo, I'm not sure if you were talking to myself or Glenn, but you're saying you're not going there, you don't have the time. Rodrigo, but if you pour your heart and cry out to God the Father, he will rescue you from whatever you're going through. Well, in that sense, Rodrigo, I can I can go with that. I mean, yes, what you're talking about there, Rodrigo, is that point where you surrender. And sometimes we're forced into that situation where we have to surrender. And maybe we do cry out. We somehow find ourselves on our knees. Now, Muslims might see the same thing, and they talk about the same thing happen, and someone eventually submitting to God's will. Yes, I do definitely believe that we spend a lot of our time, most of our time, based on the way we're brought up, trying to control the situation. We're trying to, and it's a struggle, and it's stressful, and then things obviously seem to go out of control. But things happen all the time that are part of a sequence of events, aren't they? So you might be without money, or you might have, you've lost a friend or a partner. Things like this happen. All these horrible things can happen in your life, but sometimes the results of that are so profound and immeasurably, is that the right word to use? Immeasurably incalculable. It's just, you can't really sum up the reason or why certain things happen. Things happen, and they do have a cause and effect, and they happen for a reason, but the knowledge why is beyond us. And so, for example, if you look at the way we see that the Greeks were maybe they were led by gods, or they would pray to different gods, or they would be influenced or work under different gods, or fulfill missions under different gods. And so the gods are playing out their little thing, they're doing their thing, and to me that's an okay way to look at it, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it has, you don't know how much truth that has in it to talk about our lives being dictated by gods or other entities. But there is certainly something to be said for that surrendering. Yes, and I think many of us will get to a point in life where we surrender, and yes, your life will change because you are not fighting anymore. And then you realize it was like trying to fight against a current. If you're I'm trying to get up the river, and you're fighting against the current, but you're never getting anywhere, and you just get worn out and you get exhausted. Eventually you've just got to give up and go with the flow, and that is when you start getting taken to the places that the river is supposed to take you to. Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. And I can certainly say that I've been in those certain kind of mindsets where you realize that you were fighting, and you just needed to let go, you needed to surrender. And yes, you might have called out for God's help, or made some kind of promise to God, whoever or whatever that God might be. But this is the thing, when you talk in those terms, you end up kind of having some kind of picture in your mind, or a label attached to it. Yeah. Rodrigo, you have to understand, our standards of good are not the same as God, and what we think is just for us is actually not what God has for us. Again, I would agree with that sentiment. Yeah, we often get distracted by what we think is best. Hello, Al. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Merry Christmas to you. And I am says, all religions lack the answer. Yeah, no one has the answer, do they? They really don't. And again, the religions are usually end up being controlled by psychopaths or whatever. So that element of control gets into it, and you've got the zealots in there, and of course, that this is the problem with any kind of organized religion. It can be overtaken and overrun. I mean, we're always just talking about ideas. Communism is a religion, right? It's and so all of these things, it's just a belief in the way that things should be a certain way. Yeah. So and again, if you're trying to force that onto somebody, if you're trying to create these rules and regulations, then this doctrine, then you're narrowing it all down, and you're imposing your will rather than God's will, whatever God's will may be. And does he or she or it really let us know? Yeah. This is the kind of crux of the issue we're talking about, I suppose. Oh, Boomy, you were just watching Walkabout Wayne in Chiang Mai. Okay, I think I've seen that guy's channel. Ramsey, why do you need an explanation for everything? Okay. Truckmatic, hello. Good to see you. Merry Christmas. Okay. Flanky64. One man says, at Ramsey, if you don't leave the room, how do you know what is out there? Good point. Yeah. Oh, I've got some geckos in the background, yeah. Oh, yeah, up there. That's right. We got some duckers around here, some lovely tropical birds in the trees. They've all gone quiet now. Yeah. Boomy, what do you think about crypto? Dunno. Works for some people, doesn't it? Not something I wanted to get into right now, but because I honestly, I'm not. I mean, the way I've heard it described is that yes, it's a great currency for making instant transactions worldwide, and it doesn't cost you as much as making transactions with other money. Yeah, I suppose, but somehow at some point you've got to kind of convert it into other money. Dave Hinkle. Choice is defend a belief or accept reality. I choose accept reality. Yeah, nicely put. Very succinct, Dave. Yeah. Yeah, and that's it. There's a limit to what we can know about our reality, isn't there? The rest is really a speculation. Yeah. But it is interesting to think about the fact that let's say when you're in a real situation, and it might be a dangerous situation, or that could be, it could be physically dangerous, or even dangerous to our reputation, or whatever it might be. If you're in that situation, then you get these bodily changes. You get the sweat, the heart rate, and things like that. Now, that's in that situation, but you can then remember that situation and be thinking about that situation, and maybe get caught up in reviewing that situation in your mind at some point later on. It could be weeks, months, or years later, and you'll get those feelings again. So the thing is, as far as your body is concerned, the mind, what's happening in the mind, even if you're just reliving, you're not really in that situation. As far as the body is concerned, you are in that situation. You really are in that situation of fight or flight. And your survival instincts are coming in. You're getting the adrenaline, whatever, the clammy hands and the cold sweats. Yeah. So that's the thing, isn't it? The body, whether it's happening in the mind or in reality, the body reacts in the same way. So it's interesting to think that we, our thoughts and our beliefs can manifest this physical thing. Yeah. V. Thomas, hello. This is what turns off many people. Some Tians. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, but I think, yeah, that you were talking about the zealotry. Winand, hi, can I ask your thoughts as to why the sun sets very far south in places south of the equator? Hard to explain on a flat earth. Again, why are you looking at the sun? There are lots of explanations about the sun doing concentric circles throughout the year, and it's going up and down as well at the same time. This spiraling is something we see in nature anyway. What is the sun? Is it a focal point of light? How far away is it? Is it close? Is it far? Is it larger, smaller than the Earth? Is it a light shining from somewhere else that's going through something else? Is it like a magnifying glass? There are a million questions and hypotheses that you could postulate. So, where is south, and what are we actually seeing? So what if it sets south? I mean, this is it. When you say it's impossible, to say something is impossible on flat Earth is ridiculous, because again, you just, and especially if you're talking about what the sun or the moon is doing, it's just what doesn't happen on a water. The way water behaves, it can only happen on a flat Earth. It can't happen on a globe. Yeah, just think about that. That would be a good little illustration to do, wouldn't it? I think I've got some paper here. Do you remember, how you've got, I'm just trying to, how you've got two people doing a water level thing. I just got my guy. There's. If this is a water level, there's that tube with your water in it, yeah? And at the other end it's going to be level, but the surface is going down like this, yeah? The fact that this will be, this basically constitutes a body of water, the fact that this will be a horizontal line tells you that we're not living on a globe, this simple fact, yeah? Because according to the globers, the water level should be, I'll just draw it, what should happen. According to the globe belief, water level means that the water will retain the same depth and be level with this apparently curved surface. So water level should actually go down as you follow a surface, but it doesn't. The surface goes down, the water in that thing will remain level. This in itself is just proof, simple proof we don't live on a globe. Yeah. So asking questions about the sun, the moon, and the stars. And again, first question is did you create this place? Do you know how or why it was created? No, you don't. So that's it. You can't make any more assumptions beyond that because you don't know. You might be able to work out a few things. As I said early on in this vid, we can make predictions, but that's about all we can do. We really don't know the cause and effect and the how and the why. So explanations don't mean anything unless you can come up with actual knowledge of how and why this place was created in the first place. Yeah, it's like a baby in an incubator, right? We create the incubators to help the baby grow and nurture that baby. The baby in the incubator hasn't got a clue what's going on, doesn't really know why. We do. We're outside of it, yeah. And so we have created that incubator for the child, and so we in that sense we have that knowledge that the baby doesn't have, but if you consider the earth an incubator for life, we don't know how the lights work. We don't know. We gain some familiarity with them. We don't know how it works. We don't know who's created it, do we? Just like the baby in the incubator. Yeah. Well, let's get back through the chat. Hello, Dean Floyd. Good to see you too. Thank you. Yeah. Flat Earth Warriors. I'm just hi. Just in relation to that question, if you can't work it out on a flat Earth, the thing is, we don't know the extent. We don't know the extent of this place. We see maps where things are probably being cut off, and there might be pieces of land. There might be more sea or less sea than we just don't know. It's just, and you do end up going around in circles. Yes. Robert Moses, hello, greetings, Midgardians. What's that? Sourdough born, sourdough bread. Clever. Everything on Earth is built to operate on a stationary flat plane. Buildings or aircraft, human body. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah. And it's so simple, isn't it? And of course, I think one thing I did want to discuss in this was that dealing with people that point blank refuse to go there, and they'll open a conversation with you. Well, furfers can't count or can't do math and things like that. Again, just repeating stupid stuff that they've heard. But what you do see is this defense mechanism coming into play, because actually people instinctively know that they do have to surrender. They actually have to surrender. They have to give up everything they thought they knew. And that comfort, that belief in authority. So I think there really is that deep down knowledge that their whole life, there is that death, that the ego dies, the death of the old personality, when you surrender and you give up to accepting the truth. Yeah. And you're absolutely right, sourdough. Everything is done, it's all done on a level earth, everything. Yeah. And you can't, this is the thing, you keep going back to that. You just, when people are arguing with you, you just keep going back to it. That's how it is. We're talking about reality. They're talking about concepts and models, and they say, "Well, look, try imagining this, or let's have a thought experiment." It's like, no, just look at reality and understand that it doesn't fit with any globe model. That's it. Yeah. But they just won't. They just won't go to that. They just want to stay in this imaginary conceptual world. Dean Floyd, the lights in the sky are just that, local to each observer, impossible to see beyond the limit of human vision. Yep. The Flat Earth Warriors, Moon, Pink Floyd album, UV light from the black sun under the earth is in the North Pole, bounces off the firmament. Yeah, I do. Obviously, it does make sense that there is a firmament, whether it's a dome or a sandwich or whatever, or it goes on infinitely, who knows. But yeah, the gases in the air get lit up by frequencies. All these kinds of things are ways that we can explain what's going on in our realm. Yeah, for sure. Robert Moses asks, "How's the surfing in Thailand?" It's it's not really cracked up too much. We don't get much. I think it's around September, October. They do have a bit of a surfing contest because that is when you can get some decent waves, but nothing humongous. Obviously, it's a nice warm place to surf, but yeah. As far as I'm not a surfer myself, but I know that it's there's just a couple of weeks where the water is rough enough to surf, but it's yeah, it can be very dodgy as well. So cellular earth hopefully out, no fat man. Yeah, I can't. I'm not going to even bother arguing with you. Yeah, yeah. Sourdough globe maps are made from fat map wraps. Yeah. Again, it is a bit of a distraction. The maps are great. Again, nothing changes as far as distances go. You've got to repeatedly explain to people that the azimuth projection means that wherever you decide your central point is, that everything is going to appear to expand. And it's funny because it's only because that's the opposite of what we see. The further you see, the more land or sea or the wider area is actually condensed into a smaller space in your vision. So what's happening is the further you see, you're seeing a greater amount of width condensed into smaller and smaller space in your vision. So of course, when you project that on the map, then it's 1 degree obviously gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but in our eyes, 1 degree's difference is going to incorporate an entire country if that country is very far away. Yeah. V. Thomas, all the maps are 2D Cartesian, including the military ones. The only one that isn't is the globe. Yeah. Oh, Fat Earth Warriors. Check out the movie The Core, crystal geode inside. Right. I am. There are no circular round maps. They're all flat projections. Globes are decorative display, not for educational purposes. Yep, that's right. Glenn Souch, why do you seek God in religion? God doesn't dwell within the walls made by the hands of men. Nicely said, or nicely articulated, Glenn Sack. Cellular Earth, ignore you. Yeah. Sourdough, globe doesn't work either because they edit north and south. Right. Oh, I am having a poke at Glenn now. I'll let you discuss that amongst yourselves. Jason Davis, show me your axis globe, monkeys. Josh Corey of the Iron Realm. Hello, Josh. Beware, truth or psychosis. Truth or psychosis. Ah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Love those succinct comments. Beware selfie profiles. V. Thomas, it's the governments that pay for cartographers. Disingenuous to ask for more maps when those, yeah, from those same, yeah. Yeah, that's right, V. Thomas. The Antarctic Treaty, yeah, is a part of which, yes, okay, interesting. Let me just go back to my notes a second, because yeah, isn't it funny, this Antarctic Treaty? Of course, this is one of the first things we looked at. We all kind of got into this and looked into the Antarctic Treaty and realised that it was, there's something fishy going on there, because you've got all these previously warring nations that have come together. So again, this is easier to understand once you've come to that realisation that the governments and the countries, or the government leaders or country leaders, they are just puppets for a more centralized point. There's something else or someone else in charge there. So although there is a certain amount of autonomy among different countries to, for example, do communism or capitalism or whatever they want to, whatever kind of system they want to adapt, whatever religion or national way they want to conduct their country, there are certain things where they seem to have to get on board with some other narrative that brings them all together, that's controlling them all. So that because of this truth-seeking journey, maybe you come to that realization with the banking, pharmaceuticals and things like that. You realize how much control these corporations and of course the media have on these countries, or just the way, there are people that are going to decide the way things are going to go, and a country's leader might have a certain amount of autonomy, but at the end of the day, they still have to toe the global line. Yeah. So there was the Antarctic thing. Yeah, there was that which happened. Obviously, it was a big thing at the time, and wars, of course, are another big distraction. And so you've got these things put in place. The global warming or climate change, it's amazing how they've managed to get people to adopt that word climate change as something that's basically seen as evil, and of course makes the people think of the global warming or whatever that it was first pushed as. So you've got that narrative. These are all just industries. So you've got war, and right currently it's the war in Ukraine. Do you remember how we always used to worry about Palestine and Israel? They seem to be out of the news now. Now it's the Ukraine and Russia. And we know there isn't really a war going on. There's just a money laundering operation. To what ends, really, who knows? But that's the distraction there at the moment. And of course, we had the whole Rona thing. So I suppose the point I'm trying to make is that, you've got these events in history where all these world leaders came together for some unified purpose, and it wasn't for our benefit. It was not. It was either to control us, to keep us on the farm. You think about just the way they did. To see, it was sickening to see, for example, the daily death toll being publicized widely. That whether it was on the news or the newspapers, on the radio, people were opening their eyes and first thing in the morning, and the first thing they'd hear was the daily death toll. And never has there been such a focus on that, unless you're in a war. But I don't think even in a war you'd have that much of a focus on the daily death toll. Or certainly in, for example, the Vietnam War, they stopped publishing the death toll. But this is the thing, that was all very deliberate. What was so frustrating and infuriating is that you're seeing these methods of mind control being employed so blatantly. And of course, for the most part, people are just going along with it and being carried or caught up in it. Yeah. And so you could really see, if you're an outside observer, you could see this religion being built up, and it was really getting people to get on board with that. So, you have these things in history that have markers that they keep repeating these same kinds of narratives, whether it's a pandemic of this or that, whether it's a war, the Antarctic, or protecting the planet, the environment, etc. These are all just these narratives, the three kinds of narratives that really can continuously play out to get us sheeple to go along with certain things. Yeah. So it's very interesting to see that, for example, I was talking to my daughter the other day. I see it all the time. I mean, just see people on the road doing absolutely crazy stuff, really unsafe stuff. People on motorbikes, they're going down the wrong way. They don't wear helmets. They don't care. They don't look. They'll just nuts. And of course we're talking about how I was, a lot of it is down to the conditioning, but there's this kind of attitude that, well, you just can't get people to change their minds. They're not brought up with it. But then what they did manage to do with the whole corona thing, I mean, you've got people still now wearing masks. A lot of people have got into the habit now, just if they're in some kind of service role or whatever, if you come up to them as a customer, they'll just put their mask on. They think they're being polite. Yeah, it's not about, to be honest, they're not necessarily doing it to protect themselves. They're doing it because they feel that it's a social thing to do. And it's not even what's the word, virtue signaling. It's not even that, really, because it's not kind of like, oh, look at me, aren't I good? It's just here really people have got into that habit of just covering up there, and they still see it. I mean, for the Muslims, it wasn't a big thing it wasn't much of a transition to do that. Yeah. So sorry, my point there was that, it would appear futile to change people's driving habits here to get them to drive more safely or to be more responsible on or near the roads, whether they are pedestrians or traffic. But at the same time, it was quite easy to get everyone putting the masks on as some form of protection. Why couldn't they just do that as effectively with the with road safety and people wearing helmets and stuff? So it just shows that when the need arises, when these different countries, no matter how autonomous they are told to toe the line, then they will do it, and they will change the way people behave and act. Yeah, so it's quite telling again, isn't it? It's quite telling. And I do hope that woke up a lot of people. Yeah. What's that? Carmichael, when I found out what pseudoscience was, the entire model fell apart. Yeah, it's quite a revelation, isn't it? Yeah. B. Thomas. None of the current maps are 100% accurate anyway, because they're changing shorelines. That's true. Yeah. Jennifer. Okay, not sure what your question was. Is it? B. Thomas. Christmas trolls are out. Yeah. Hello from Serbia, from Miroslav. Is that how you said it? Kordiak. Well, hello. I bet it's cold with you. Want to come over for some heat? V. Thomas. Oh, let's try. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but let's try it. Whatever it is, I'm probably up for it. Jason Davis. Yeah, it's Animal Farm on a ceaseless loop. Yes. Become a vegan zealot instead. Eating snot in an ashtray. Oh, not as a vegan. Jacqua. Phuket word. I'd like you to comment on Dell's hypothesis that the Earth is accelerating up. Well, okay, you've chosen some words there carefully, but of course, what Dell is saying is that yes, if it's a way you can perceive it, right? Because if you've got this force, that one way of creating a force is to have the Earth moving, and of course, you conventionally only have a force if something is being put into motion. But I don't think that Dell is necessarily advocating that. He's just pointing out that our conventional globe-esque comprehension of gravity and what is supposed to hold us onto the Earth is really completely the opposite to what actual physical force would achieve. So again, there's no measure of us moving up. There's no measure of the Earth moving. all there is a calculation of the passage of time. Yeah. So that's my understanding of Dell putting that forwards. He's not necessarily advocating that as a truth. He's just saying, hey, look, you're talking about forces being something that moves things, or that force being created, then something has to be moving. Yeah. Kim Dawes, hello. I believe God the Creator reveals truth to whom he enlightens. Some are left in the dark. Yeah, Kim, does that mean that there's like only some people will wake up while others will not? They'll stay asleep. Do they remain unconscious? I think whether you answer the question or not, I think it's nice to talk about this kind of wisdom, the difference between wisdom and knowledge, and enlightenment, because I think, we talk about consciousness and unconsciousness, or consciousness being awareness, yeah? And so you have this awareness, and that kind of opens you up a bit, and it is there that you can tap into the wisdom, and you can become wiser as to what could be going on, or the consequences of certain actions and things like that. So there is this. So again, we can't necessarily know exactly who or what is beyond this life experience or this realm. We might be able to if we were allowed to explore. Again, I'm an advocate of that. But I'm also quite happy with my family here on the equator. I've done my fair share of exploring to get to this point. I'm sorry, I'm kind of lost track there, but you believe God the Creator reveals truth to whom he enlightens. Some are left in the dark. So that's the thing. Is it ultimately up to us? Does every sentient being, including animals, have an opportunity to become enlightened? And what is that enlightenment? It's basically, it's that surrender. You become enlightened with wisdom rather than knowledge about, certain pseudoscientific explanation. And so there is that kind of, there is more knowledge that can be tapped into, but it still doesn't give us all the answers, but it certainly puts us on what would be a more productive and fruitful path, I'd say. Fair enough, Kim. Yeah. And I think that's it, isn't it? Again, what would maybe be important to point out is that, we can, as flat earthers, you can quite easily live alongside all the other believers of everything else and the way things are. And at some point you have to accept that they are on their journey, and there are so many, and whether you can call things a miracle or a disaster, or positive or negative, is usually kind of just very trying to simplify things, or jump to a conclusion from like if you imagine a chessboard, then maybe that you're only looking 2 moves ahead, whereas God or whoever can see the whole board and see the whole game is going to be completed in 36 moves, and we would be completely unaware of those other moves, and so we would be making choices and beliefs on things that we would see as rational because of what we can see from maybe the past or the future possible moves, but but not all of them. Yeah. So interesting to think about that one. Yeah. Effed Up World, hello. Going live soon. Too much love from Minnesota. Okay, we'll try and catch up with you there if I can when we finish on this one. V. Thomas, we're on very dangerous territory. If some other man is dictating what God is to others, i.e. the most appalling works have also been done in the name. Absolutely, V. Thomas, you're right. Yeah, that's kind of, again, nicely sums up what we're kind of saying there. Glenn Souch, I don't need crypto, I need a goat. One man used to walk and talk with God and was his best friend. Now man walks and talks with dog and he's just okay, yeah. But I think about that too, you know, what's in it for us and the dogs when you have a life together, or you lose, the dog. It must be, for a dog to be born as a pup and then maybe come and live with you and then grow old with you and die. That's quite weird, isn't it? Because the dog, it's having a much shorter life than we usually would. How do dogs look at us? Yeah. I don't think this counts. What's that one? V. Thomas, I don't think this counts as serving two masters. Most dogs are kept on leads. Renegade 1, peace. Hello. FE Nation, water is two-dimensional and always seeks level. Two-dimensional? Is it? What's that? One man? Nick, what do you think of the theory of the sun being local and burning up the flammable gases that rise from the Earth's surface? A natural cycle. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I'd certainly think it is local. Burning up the flammable gases. Yeah, I mean, well, I think it at first thought it holds some validity. I've not really looked into it or thought about it too much, but yeah, I mean, I suppose like anything, the things have got to be drawn to a certain point. Why that point? What's making that a conduit? There surely has to be some kind of outside influence. There has to be something else that is this core, or it's doing its job. That's its job. Fair enough. If that makes sense. I think when you put it like that, as it's burning up gases that get released, and yeah, again, ingenious design, really. Why not? Absolutely, why not? And yeah, intelligent design for sure. Yeah, can't disagree with it. What's that? Wymand? I know it's fat. Justin asking about the sun and luminaries is quite a puzzle. Would it be interesting to understand the causes? Well, yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, who knows? I think there is. I think whether I finished my point earlier on, I'd be happy to really know that we were on a globe. No problem at all. But then I'd start asking questions about the stars. Where are they really? Really, are they really millions of miles away? Why can't we see any stars when we have these things going into space? Things like that. Do the stars really have some kind of meaning on our life path? Yeah. There are so many other esoteric questions. There still doesn't answer the question of, the globe. Even if we do find out that we really are on a globe, again, could be perfectly happy to accept that. But I'm already at that point where I'm sure all of us are. There's so much more that we want to know about. Why, how, what are we doing here? Of course, that's the mission. That's what we're trying to find out, because there is definitely this feeling that we've been bamboozled. Things are not the way they seem, and we can see that people act and react and behave and believe things that they really shouldn't, and could be leading completely different lives. So yeah, we see the illusion. We understand that most of what's around us is a total illusion. Yeah. So it really kind of begs begs the question, I suppose, what's really going on. And so yeah, and I think that predominantly this realization that well, the perpetuation of this whole flat earth thing is because we've always got people coming back and arguing, and they're arguing like school children. They'll tell you, they'll repeat certain stuff, they don't listen to your answers, so they themselves act like religious zealots. And we of course and then it becomes obvious that they don't have any facts, they don't have any real science, they're just repeating manufactured consensus. And so it becomes obvious that the heliocentrism is a belief, just like any other religion. Yeah. And again, it's just, you just got to be careful that you don't become a flat earth zealot, you know. Great, you know, wake people up to it, to the obvious. But apart from that, you know, what it does make a difference. It does make a huge difference to your life. V. Thomas, we can't even make a pebble in the lab. Good one. Yeah. John Corey of the Iron Realm says the luminaries are a reminder that mysteries will always remain for you. Absolutely. Yeah. You look up there and you say, well, no, you can't get out. And that would maybe kind of answer the other question that was posed about the sun south of the equator. Again, we're talking about a line on the map that has been drawn by humans. What's the equator really? And so what? So what if the sun is doing that? It's doing whatever it does. I mean, it's just doing its job. Yeah, it's just doing what it's got to do in this realm. Yeah. I am. Look up Flat Earth Philosophy here on YouTube. Yes, he's a good one. He has a very unique model of reflection within a magnetic spectrum. Touches close to the understanding of Ken Wheeler. Okay, nice one. Nice shout out there. I am. Yeah. V. Thomas, why doesn't Musk build an outpost in Antarctica? Yeah, I wonder about him. You know, is he evil? Is he benevolent? Whatever. But to be honest, I see all these people, no matter how, even if it's, you know, even if they are, again, we talked about very wealthy people having a journey of their own journey of discovery. Yeah. So whether they become wealthy and influential is just part of their journey. I think they're not necessarily, again, caveat emptor. Yeah. Be buyer beware of what you really go for. Let them do their thing. No need to get too much in the way. Why do we put so much emphasis on bloody Twitter anyway? You know. Yeah. And of course, yeah, there's SpaceX, which is pretty much dictated by NASA anyway. I mean, it's doing no jobs for NASA, really, isn't it? You know. So yeah. It's not really. We're not fussed about debating whether certain people are evil or not. We've all got, you know, whether they are successful or influential or not. We've all got some kind of life journey to lead. AR23 said Trump at one point said the earth is flat, but changed his mind when his hand has said shut up. Yeah. V. Thomas wants a citation for Trump, please. AR23, when I was in London, I could see Orion every night. Then I moved to Argentina. I see Orion everywhere. Okay. I am saying it's been shown over and over again that ether is that energy. All things are the same, but just vibrations, perturbations, frequencies of the other. And Winand asking also, what do you think about nuclear energy? Let's say the science is there and okay, you need uranium, so you get a certain reaction. You're basically creating heat, right? That's all you're doing is you're creating heat to power turbines. The neighbour's track. Yeah, however you do it, whether you use a coal fire, an oil fire, or nuclear energy, is whatever. But I don't think they can make the nuclear bombs. I think that's all just these conditions have to be contained and controlled, like in a power station. So you might well be able to get that whole process going, but you can't stick that in a nuclear warhead. And that's just fear mongering. That's just one of those narratives. Just like the war, there's the threat of nuclear war all the time hanging over people. There's the global warming, the climate change. There's the threat of whether it's floods, droughts, or whatever, hanging over us. And space as well, of course. Space is another massive industry. These are all industries, aren't they? Again, as long as you understand that space is an industry, and all the aerospace industry is absolutely massive. War, of course, is an industry, and creating nuclear, of course, they would perpetuate the wars, and they would perpetuate the apparent need for weapons of mass destruction, nuclear weapons, and so they'll carry on building them and selling them. But what are they really selling? Just as when they sell satellites and rocket programs, what are they really selling? Yeah, they're just selling a way to make money. And keep everyone at the same time, keep everyone in a state of maybe it could be fear or elation or whatever. And a literalist. Hello, Masters of Masters. Isa, hello. All right. Good to see you, man. Yes, all well, thank you. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. It's been a while since I've seen you online. I always love your music, the way. Check out Isa. Yeah, he plays some cool music. I am. Take a ball Earth, head west or east at 90 degrees, look back at 90 degrees, and you will not return to the same location. All east-west cardinal directions bend towards the equator. Zeus Scott, hello. Bit late today, my man. Onward, Christian soul dyers. Yes. One man. Is Mount Meru a crystal mass? Who knows? Could be. It's just scrolling through here. Yeah, okay, we're down to talking about helmets now. Sorry if I'm distracting there. Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm getting a low battery warning. Okay. Okay. Kevin, hello. All right. What's that? I am glance. If the Earth is flat, what's on the other side? Who knows? If the Earth is a ball, where's the curve? Yeah, a curve is the same as an edge, right? It's funny how you have these images of a flat Earth and water pouring off the edges of it. But that doesn't happen on the edge of the horizon edge of the globe Earth. Eugenius Theodictus. Is that how did I say that right? It's fair game to want to know if a person is Luciferian. Okay. Plain Truther, UK. Hi from the UK. Happy Christmas. Hello. Squirrel Sniper. Hello. Still haven't found anyone that has crossed the international date line. Oh, really? I've heard of people that have crossed the date line on cruises and things like that. Sawadee Krab, Dr. La, and because of gravity. I am Grant. All right, I got to the bottom of the chat, yeah. So let's not hold you up too much on this lovely Christmas day. Hello, young man.
What are you doing?
I'm just doing a YouTube stream. Oh. So just hang on, don't go into the shop.
Sorry.
But no, I'm nearly done. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. All right. So you got time. Yeah. Yeah, you look at the football as well. This is just another example, isn't it? Look at the distraction, the football. You had the whole of the country. Was it Argentina? I can't remember who won. I watched a couple of matches. Of course, I watched the England match just for kicks. You know, I think I watched the final as well. But at the same time, with that awareness that, well, it's not really invested in it. It was just interesting to watch the game. I mean, they do have a lot of skill, those players. But to see that country, you know, the country, and of course all the, I mean, wow, it's amazing, isn't it? It's, you know, you've got throngs and throngs of people, the whole country, and you can see that it's bread and circuses, exactly, Randy. Yeah, if only they were that passionate about the things that really mattered. It's crazy, isn't it? But it just goes to show, doesn't it? It just goes to show how unconscious most people are living their life, if that's what they're, if that's where they place their importance. Yeah. And I suppose, you know, those people with real power and real influence, they just must look at all these guys and just be having a laugh, you know. Do they care about football? I don't know. What's the sport that they enjoy? Excuse me, Robert Page. Greetings, Cricket Word Twitter friend. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Yes, gravity is incoherent electrostatic acceleration, says Squirrel Sniper. Okay. Yeah, Stashman, hello. Yeah, all right. So anyway, as you saw, Mike, well, you didn't see because didn't want him to be showing the world his his naked top in this hot weather. We'll get, but yeah, a lot to do in the new year, and yeah, I mean, you know, I've been there. I've been the zealot, and I don't want to be the zealot. I'd rather just get along with everyone, but there's also an acceptance and an understanding that that's not always going to happen. Yeah, you're always going to have people at different stages on their journey. Yeah, and I don't think we don't need to be arguing about God or labels and things like that. You know, it's just it is amazing what can happen when you let go, though. It really is. It is life-changing in that respect. You know, if you've got to the stage where you're open-minded enough to realize, you know, to get to that point where you really have taken the blinkers off and you see that you were fooled and you admit that you were fooled. And then, of course, you're going to go through that process where you want to convert other people to your way of thinking, but then you also have to go through that. And so just to go back to those people that maybe, you know, might become very successful, get all the things they want, but they still don't develop spiritually. They don't become, they don't grow, they don't evolve in any way. They just get old, and they still have the same attachments that they had when they were 16 or 30 or 40. You know, they still live in a very materialistic world, and so unfortunately you see people all around you that will never, you know, progress in that way. They might be narcissistic, they might be egocentric, and so yeah, and again, there's no point in becoming like them to try and, you know, to try and force any change upon them, you know, because then you just become they are. But if you're trying to force your way on them, even if you kind of, you know, that you're better off by surrendering, and then you know more things become open to you. But then I think as Kim said earlier on, maybe that's just for certain people. It seems a bit weird to say chosen people, because I think maybe it would be nice to think that everyone has the chance to reach some kind of enlightenment. So with that, I shall leave you to it, and hope you're having a wonderful weekend, and we'll catch up very, very soon in the new year, or in this the coming weeks and months. And do want to say thank you very much to all my Patreons as well. There's a few of you that have just hung on there without much communication from me. You've been great, very supportive, and I'd like to do more with that in the new year, to see what we can achieve as far as at least getting information out there to the people that are willing to listen, and who want to progress. So I am Glance. Just a last comment. You all really think the Earth's flat? Well, we know it's not a ball, and we know it's level as far as we can tell. Beyond that, beyond the limits of what we know, there's a lot that we don't know. So there's a huge amount that we don't know. Really, usually people have a lot of beliefs, and they think they know a lot, whereas really the idea is to not have any beliefs and realize how little we actually know. And that's a good place to start. So let's catch up soon, okay? And I'll say goodbye, and thank you for coming along for now, and have yourselves a great holiday. Take care.